Hey guys, so you should have gone on Google Classroom. You should have downloaded this note sheet. Okay, yours should look just like mine does. Go ahead and add your name at the top so you don't lose it, you don't forget it, or in any way. Okay, and we're going to take notes on organelle. Now, I decided for us to do notes this way so that you can go back and watch these over and over and over again, and I can explain it to you as many times as you need. Okay, let's start with the cell membrane. Now, the cell membrane surrounds the cell. And that sounds really basic, okay? But it's really, really important, okay? Because he's surrounding our cell so that he can control what goes in and out of our cell. And this is important because he helps our cells keep things like viruses and waste and all those bad things we don't want to get into our cells out of our cells. Okay, so he surrounds the cell and controls what goes in and out. Now, this can be found in animal cells and in plant cells. So, regardless of what type of cell we're talking about, it's going to have a cell membrane. Okay, let's jump down to cell wall. Your cell wall also surrounds the cell, but he has a little bit different function, okay? Which, remember, function is just a fancy word for job, right? Your job as a student, my job is to be the teacher. We all have jobs, okay? The cell wall's job is to provide support and protection. So he's not so much the guardian as he is the guy who's helping, he's like your bones. He's supporting our cells. So he's supporting your cells. The animal cells do not have a cell wall, okay? Only plant cells do. And that should make sense because plants have to support themselves and they have to be strong, okay? Let's keep going. So next is our nucleus, okay? He's the control center of the cell, otherwise known as the brain, right? Your brain controls everything that happens in your body, just like the nucleus controls everything that happens in our cells. Okay? And remember, this is a special feature of eukaryotic cells. Remember, we talked about those yesterday? And eukaryotic cells always have a nucleus. And our plant cells and animal cells both fit into that category. So we're going to put an X in both of these boxes because they all have a nucleus. Your nucleus also, as being part of the control center of your cell and having the brain, this is where your DNA is stored. Because remember, our DNA is super precious and we want to keep him safe. Next up is the mitochondria. Now, our mitochondria has a big job too. He provides all the energy for the cell. Okay? He's otherwise known as the powerhouse. We're going to write him in all caps so that you remember he's so important and he provides all the energy that our cells could ever need. Okay? And this is also found in plant cells and in animal cells. All cells have a mitochondria. While he's the powerhouse, what this means is that he makes ATP, okay? And that's our chemical energy. Chemical energy. Think about it like energy in your house is electricity. For a cell, it's going to be this thing called ATP. Okay? Ribosomes. It's not ribosomes, I promise. It's ribosomes. Ribosomes make protein. Remember we talked about proteins. They're one of our macromolecules. They control everything that happens in our body. It all happens because a protein said it should happen. These are also types of enzymes, okay? So ribosomes make protein. And sometimes they can be free-floating in the cytoplasm, but they can also be found on the rough ER, okay? And we're going to talk about him in just a minute, but go ahead and write it down. They can be free-floating in the cytoplasm or on the rough ER. Ribosomes are also found in animal cells and plant cells, Okay, you can start to see that it's really important that you keep track of which ones are in which cells. Okay, lysosomes. Lysosomes are kind of like the stomach of the cell. Okay, these contain digestive enzymes. Okay, so they're basically going to break down any waste or bad stuff that your cell doesn't need anymore. Okay, and these are only found in animal cells, right? So make sure you check the right box. Only our animal cells have lysosomes. Okay, smooth ER. Okay, now over here beside endoplasmic reticulum, okay, write ER, all right, because that's really what you're going to see it as most times, but it is important that you go ahead and get yourself accustomed to seeing it written as that, as the endoplasmic reticulum. Now, the smooth ER is responsible for making steroids and fats. Because remember we talked about there's certain types of things like steroids and hormones that your body has to make. They're essential. Those happen in the smooth ER. Okay? And the smooth ER is actually almost like a channel of membranes that are located near the nucleus. And this will make sense when we look at our picture in just a minute. Both types of cells have a smooth ER. Okay? He's smooth because he's the opposite of the rough ER. Okay? So rough has something extra on him that makes him rough. The smooth ER has nothing on his surface. Now, our rough ER, right, he is covered in ribosomes. And we just talked about those, remember? They make protein. So our rough ER has, it almost looks like he has polka dots on him, okay? And those polka dots are ribosomes. Ribosomes, we already talked about, make protein. So it's the same function for our rough ER. They make and package, they make proteins and make sure that they are folded correctly. They make sure they're folded correctly. Do you remember we talked about proteins have a very, very specific shape? They're very, very, have to be folded just right, like I did with that blue sheet of paper. The rough ER helps to make sure that that actually happens. The rough ER is also found in plant cells and animal cells. Okay? Next up is the Golgi apparatus, or sometimes called the Golgi body. Okay? And the Golgi body is the packaging center of the cell. Packaging center of the cell. Okay? So he's kind of, if we were going to give him an analogy, he's almost like the post office. Okay? Things go to the post office. They get put in all these nice neat little packages, and then they get sent wherever they need to go all across the world and all across America. Okay? And the same is true for the Golgi apparatus. He is the packaging center of the cell. Whether he's packaging up a protein or a lipid that was just made in the ER, it doesn't matter. It can be many, many things, but he's still going to be responsible for packaging everything up. And these are also found in plant cells and animal cells. Next up, the vacuole. The vacuole has a really cool job. He is the storage center. Okay? Now, two important things about him. Okay? He stores food and water. Okay? So if we need food and water later on, your vacuole is where it's going to be stored. Okay? But in plant cells, the vacuole takes up 2/3 of the cell. Okay, that's huge. Okay, he's going to take up most of the space inside a little tiny plant cell. And that should kind of make sense because remember, our plants can't eat like we can. So if the plant needs energy, he can't just go have a bag of chips. He has to make his own food. So by storing up, he can keep it until he really needs it. Okay? Now, animal cells still have vacuoles, but they're smaller and round. And they usually only have 2 or 3 per cell. So they're not going to be super huge. They're not going to take up any crazy amount of space. Cytoplasm. Now, the cytoplasm is the gel inside the cell. Okay? He is the liquid, and he really is gel-like. Okay? It's not like water. It's not like a soda. It is truly almost like Jello in there. Okay? He's the liquid that helps with transport. Miss you for against spell today. It's the liquid that helps with transport and helps the cell keep its shape. Remember we talked about that cell membrane? He's very, very fluid, and the cytoplasm helps to keep him expanded so that he doesn't get too squishy. Okay? And all of our cells have cytoplasm. Plant cells, animal cells, prokaryotic cells, they all have cytoplasm. So, next up, microtubules and centrioles. And centrioles are just an example of microtubules, okay? And we'll come back to exactly what they do later in the semester, but I do want you to go ahead and make note that they are just examples, okay? Now, microtubules provide structure support for the cell. They're also used in cell division, okay, which is just a fancy name for cell replication, okay, and we will come back to those later. But for now, know that they help to support it, and they're used in cell replication. In our pictures, they usually look kind of like spaghetti noodles, okay, and these are only found in animal cells. And that, think about it, plant cells, they already have a cell wall to provide support. They don't need anything else, okay? So now onto the nucleus, the nucleolus. The nucleolus looks a lot like the word nucleus, and that's because the nucleolus is actually inside the nucleus, okay? It's almost like the seed inside of like an apple or seeds inside an orange, okay? The nucleolus is inside, and he makes ribosomes. Okay, so go ahead and type that in there. He makes ribosomes. So he has a really important job. He's found in the center of the nucleus, okay, in the center. And he is found in plant cells and animal cells because they both have a nucleus. Chloroplasts. Chloroplasts are super great, okay. They are used to make food for plants. Because remember, plants can't eat Cheetos. They have to make their own food. And they do it in the chloroplast through a process called photosynthesis. And all that means is that they turn sunlight into sugars. I know. I'm jealous too. It would be really cool if we could do it as well. So, these are only found in plant cells. Okay, lastly is cilia and flagella, and we lump them together because they have the same basic job. They are both used for movement. All right, they help the cells move around. Now, cilia, okay, are hair-like projections. So basically, your cells that have cilia look kind of fuzzy on the outside. A flagella is a tail, okay? Literally, it means the cell is going to have a tail on it. These are only found in animal cells. Animal cells, okay? So that's it for the notes today, okay? But I do want you to check the next video for the color.